the law of process, right? Leadership is developed daily, not in a day. And so what are you doing on a daily basis to grow your leadership ability? And that's what helped me grow a team to 50 plus people, was being intentional about how do I develop the leadership ability within myself. And when I raised my leadership lid, I was able to start making $100,000 a year at the age of 24. Welcome to Street Leadership, where grit meets grace and ambition meets action. I'm your host, Ryan Goldman, diving deep into the stories that shape today's leaders. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and transformed. Let's lead the way together. Welcome to today's episode of the Street Leadership Podcast with myself, Ryan Goldman. And today I want to talk to you guys about personal development. And personal development for me has been what's given me the slight edge to get to where I am today. And to me, personal development is really about studying success. I heard very long ago when I got started is, if you wanted to be a doctor, you got to go to med school and you got to study medicine. If you wanted to be a lawyer, you got to go to law school and study the law. And I was told if you wanted to be successful, study success. And that's what personal development has been for me, is being intentional with adding value to myself and following the paths of people that have already made it through to make my path easier and shorter. When I got started in door-to-door sales, I didn't have any extraordinary sales ability. I didn't have any leadership experience, but I had great mentors who very early on started giving me books to start developing myself. And one of the first books that somebody gave me was The Greatest Salesman in the World. And in The Greatest Salesman in the World, in one of the first scrolls, it talks about, today I shed my old skin, which hath too long suffered the bruises of failure and the wounds of mediocrity. And it goes on to talk about these 10 habits that we can develop in ourselves. And when I first got that book, it transformed my life. I had been beaten up. My house had just gotten raided. My dad had just passed away. And I was feeling at such a low point in my life. And I had been suffering the wounds of mediocrity and the bruises of failure. And when I first read that book, it transformed something inside of me. And that's what personal development is all about, is changing the way that we think, changing the way that we feel, and bringing out positive change within our own lives. And we have to be intentional about that growth. When I started, I was 22 years old and I'd gotten kicked out of college, and I didn't have any degrees or anything like that, but they constantly were giving me books and audios to listen to. And the books and the audios became my mentors. Like I said, I didn't have any leadership experience or a lot of knowledge about business in general, but I was introduced to John Maxwell. And John Maxwell is a renowned leadership expert. And so I started to learn how to develop myself as a leader. And through being able to develop myself as a leader, I was able to build my team up and grow a massive organization. When I got started, I was a kid. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was able to take other people's decades of experience and compound it into days. And that's what personal development is all about, is taking other people's experiences and being able to accelerate your growth and your progress. There's things that you can teach yourself in every aspect, whether it's sales, whether it's leadership, real estate, finances, all of those things. There's somebody who's already experienced the success that you're looking for, right? And so you can find these mentors, whether you know them personally or not, and be able to get to the point that you want to get to in your life if you're able to follow those same principles. There was two things that were told to me when I got started, and it was, every success book you read is like putting $100,000 in your bank account. And if I was going to pay you $100,000 to read a book, would you read it? And I think the answer is yes for most people. However, most people will never pick up a book again once they finish school, right? But if you can change your mindset, as every success book you're reading is putting $100,000 in your bank account, there's a little bit more motivation behind it. The other thing that I was told was, if you had to walk through a minefield and get to the other side without blowing yourself up, are you going to follow the path of somebody who already made it through, or are you going to go out and make your own path? Most of us, I think, would follow the person that already made it through. And essentially that's what we're doing when we're learning from the wisdom of others, is we're able to expedite our own journey. And that's what it's done for me personally. It's allowed me to make millions of dollars and be able to do it faster than most of the people around me. When I got started, like I said, I was 22 years old. I had all these other people that started at the same time as me, but I was committed to developing myself, and they were committed to just kind of learning through their own experiences. And so I was on this fast track while other people's, path was very painful and slow. If we don't take control of our personal development, we're waiting for our own experiences to guide and teach us, right? And there's two ways that we can learn. It's through our own experiences or through the wisdom of others. Okay, and learning through the wisdom of others is much faster. Personal development isn't just about knowledge. Okay, it's about taking control of your health. And so one of the things for me that really helped me was when I committed to taking control of my physical health. And one of the things I learned is that the first level of mastery is physical mastery. And if we can't master our own physical body, we're not going to be able to master anything else. And so the first step in that for me was getting sober. I had this challenge with drugs and alcohol that had consumed my life. And, you know, basically what it allowed me to do, getting rid of that, was to eliminate the self-sabotaging behavior. And so once I got rid of kind of the self-sabotaging behavior, then I was able to start building on that, right? I was able to start working out. I was able to start kind of working on my mental health. And, I went from being 260 pounds down to 190 pounds, losing nearly 70 pounds of just from, committing to working on myself physically. And then it became like, okay, how do I strengthen my mind, and how do I fortify, and build that inner resilience? And so I had pursued doing 75 hard. I started doing the ice baths and the cold plunges, and I started looking for situations that I could put myself into that were intentionally difficult and hard, to force myself to grow and to develop. So two of the big areas, and I kind of talked about this on the last episode, was these areas of improvement that we want to commit to focusing on with intentional time and energy. And two of those areas is my physical health and my personal development, right? So both of my parents died from cancer. Okay, my dad passed away when I was 20 years old. He was, I think, 53 or 54, and my mom just passed away a month ago. And I want to be here for my kids. And I know part of that comes down to, what am I doing to take care of my physical health? And I watched my parents growing up. They didn't take care of themselves. They did drink almost every day. They were smoking pot. They were eating whatever they wanted to eat, right? They didn't have any sort of physical activity routine. And once again, that plays a role in our quality of life. And for me, I want to live to be 100, and I want to live vibrantly and be able to be there for my kids and all of those things. So I had to realize that I have to master this physical body first. And one of the programs that I did was Life Mastery through Tony Robbins. And it made me realize how many different facets there are to being healthy, right? And a lot of times we think of just being physically fit as being healthy, but there's kind of a difference between just being in good physical shape and actually putting good things into your body. And so it helped me to realize, what are the things that I'm putting into my body? What kind of experiences am I putting my body through to be able to help myself grow and be basically the most elite version of myself? And we have this incredible machine that's pumping blood 24/7 and breathing without us asking to. And what are we doing on a daily basis to take care of that machine? Once again, it comes down to the first level of mastery is our physical mastery, right? What are we putting into our body? A couple of years ago, like I said, I was drinking, I was smoking, I was partying, I wasn't sleeping, all of these things to basically deteriorate my body. And when I made the shift to go from self-sabotage to intentional building, that's when everything in my life really took off to a whole nother level. And, so our first year back in business, we had been shut down for COVID. And my first year back in business, I was sober, I was clear-minded, I was working out consistently, and I quadrupled my income. And I believe with 100% certainty that there was a direct correlation between getting myself physically well and being able to perform at a much higher level than I ever had previously. So now, my habits are a little bit different. When I first wake up in the morning, I'm drinking a ginger turmeric shot. I'm going to the gym and working out with my trainer. I've come back and I'm taking a cold shower. And so like within the first 60 to 90 minutes of the day, I'm already cleansing my body. I'm chugging water. I'm working out. I'm putting it through stress and growing myself on a daily basis, right? And that's what it comes down to is what can you do every single day to move the needle of your life? And so there's not a single day that goes by that I don't try to talk myself out of these things, right? One of the things with like a cold shower or a cold plunge, it doesn't ever get better. It's always uncomfortable. There's always days where I don't want to go to the gym and my mind will try to talk me out of it. But I've conditioned myself that it doesn't matter how I feel. It's just part of what I do, right? And we don't negotiate with ourselves, right? And you build that mental discipline of when I say go, we go. And so another area of my life that's really helped me was turning unproductive time into productive time. And what I mean by that is some of the most unproductive time we have is sitting in the car driving to work. And so almost for the past decade now, I no longer listen to music in the car. And every time I get in the car, I'm either listening to an audiobook or I'm listening to an audio program or a podcast or something that's going to put some sort of motivation or positive knowledge into my brain. And Tony Robbins talks about it. It's called net time, no extra time. We're spending this time in the car anyways. What can you do while you're in the car to be able to intentionally grow yourself? And I was spending 40 minutes to an hour to sometimes 2 hours a day in the car. When I started, I was doing door-to-door sales. So not only would I drive to the office, we would drive to the field, drive from the field back to the office, from the office back home. And so I was able to take hours a week and turn it into something that was pouring positive knowledge into my mind. And, sometimes we get caught up in this fact of like, listening to one thing for 10 minutes a day might not change your life. But if you're listening to it every single day for years, the compounding effect is going to transform you. Right. And that's what it is with all of these little habits, right? Going to the gym one time isn't going to transform your body. eating healthy one time isn't going to transform the way that you look. Listening to one book might not change your life, but if you make it a discipline that you're doing every single day, those days compound and the results will transform who you are. You know, they say that success leaves clues unless you're clueless. All of the most successful people that I know, follow these same principles. They're constantly learning and developing themselves. They're taking care of themselves physically, and they're putting themselves in intentionally stressful situations to help them grow, right? And so if you can plug yourself into those, you're going to be able to get the same results. You don't need to go and figure out a new way to develop yourself. It's already been figured out for you. Okay. Learning how to lead, and what helped me, I guess, in the business and outperform others was learning how to lead. And what helped me to do that was studying leadership, right? And listening to these leadership books and listening to these audios. And I went and attended John Maxwell's the John Maxwell team seminar, where I became certified to coach and speak and talk on his material. And one of the things that it talks about is, in the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, is the law of the lid. And the law of the lid states that our leadership ability is the lid on our team's effectiveness. And one of the other things that it talks about is that the law of process, right? Leadership is developed daily, not in a day. And so what are you doing on a daily basis to grow your leadership ability? And that's what helped me grow a team to 50 plus people, was being intentional about how do I develop the leadership ability within myself. And when I raised my leadership lid, I was able to start making $100,000 a year at the age of 24. And from 24 to 32, I was averaging, $100 to $250,000 every single year. And then COVID happened and we got shut down and we're no longer able to work. And that's really when I went all in on my personal development. Is I realized, when COVID happened, I made a commitment to myself that I was going to come out of COVID better than I went into it. And so the way that I did that is I doubled down on the reading, and I started attending seminars, and I started attending these Tony Robbins seminars. And like I said, that was when I first attended Life Mastery, and I committed to, I was sober. I was developing my physical well-being. And so when we came back in 2021, we were basically starting over from scratch. And so everything that we had built had kind of gone away, and we're starting brand new and fresh. But because I was in the best physical shape of my life, I was the clearest I had mentally ever been. Instead of earning $100,000 or $250,000, it was the first year I crossed $1 million in income. And that doesn't just happen by chance, right? And so that's why I know how powerful this stuff is being able to transform our lives, because I've experienced it in my own life. And so now when I talk about personal development, I still listen to the audios and still listen to the books, but now I go to these, 4 to 7 day immersive events where they're going from 9 in the morning till 1 in the morning at night, 14 hours, 15 hours a day. And, for 5, 6, 7 days, getting 100 hours of personal development and coming back and just and on fire. Right. And so, one of the things that I did was I made the biggest investment I had ever made. And Warren Buffett says the greatest investment you could ever make is the one into yourself. And so the biggest investment I ever made was joining Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership. And what that's allowed me to do is be able to attend every single one of Tony Robbins' events. It also has given me access to 3 exclusive Platinum events. And so every month or every other month, I'm able to get around these people that are playing life at a whole higher level than I am, And whether it's business mastery, life mastery, wealth mastery, date with destiny, all of these things that have helped me to take my life to a whole another level. And I joined another mastermind group, Apex, which is all about becoming the most elite version of yourself. And right, so I put myself in these situations that force myself to have to grow. And a lot of people think it's crazy to put that much money into personal development. But for me, once again, I know that the greatest investment I can make is the one into me, and that's the one that's going to pay the biggest dividends and give me the greatest returns. um and once again, I'm sure we've all heard the saying that you are who you associate with, right? And if you take your 5 closest friends, the people you hang out with, you're going to fall somewhere in between there. And so you have to find an elite peer group that's going to force you to elevate and help you get to that next level. And that's kind of, once again, even it kind of ties to the personal development, is like, in order for you to add value to people, you have to add value to yourself, right? Because if you're not constantly adding value to yourself, eventually you no longer have value to be able to add to others, right? And so we have to be a river, not a reservoir, and continuously look for ways to be able to add value to ourselves, so that way we become more valuable. Personal development comes with its own set of challenges and disciplines and obstacles, and I think one of the biggest ones is sacrifice. And this is what I think holds a lot of people back, is they're not willing to give up what they want now for what they want most. And sacrifice comes down to, like, are you willing to give up listening to music in the car to listen to an audiobook? Are you willing to give up, going out and partying to read a book? Are you willing to go to a seminar and miss someone's birthday? And another one of the laws of leadership is the law of sacrifice, and that in order to go up, you're going to have to give up, right? And there's going to be things, there's going to be the trade-offs that you're going to have to make depending on how high you want to go in your life. And there's going to be sacrifices that come up. And if you want to become that greatest version of yourself, you're going to have to make those sacrifices. Are you willing to give up what you want now for what you want most? And that delayed gratification. Another one of the sacrifices you might have to make is giving up the people that you're used to hanging around with. And this was a hard one when I first got started, was realizing that people are just going to be on a different path than you. And when you start to really commit to developing yourself, it's going to make other people uncomfortable, because they're going to see you start to change. And it makes them feel some type of way about themselves, realizing that maybe they should be doing more, but they're just choosing not to. And so you might make people uncomfortable, and that's okay, right? The people that are really for you, they're going to support you and they're going to love you regardless. And the people that don't, those aren't your people anyways. And so you have to be willing to kind of let those people go. And that's okay. For some people, it might be hard to take the time or make the sacrifice, sit down and read a book. Like I said, most people will never pick up a book again once they leave school. But for me, like, audiobooks have been a game changer, right? Like, you don't have to necessarily sit down and read anymore. You could put it on while you're in the car and listen passively. And there's still a power that comes from reading too. I would recommend that. But once again, something is better than nothing. And now you have your phone where you can just Bluetooth it, and there's really no excuses. Back in the day, we used to have to put in audio CDs, and now technology makes things a little bit easier. But even if you're just committing 10 to 20 minutes a day to developing yourself, right? It doesn't have to be any crazy drastic changes, but the small efforts that you make today is going to start compounding. And when you read something and it transforms you, you're going to find that motivation to keep doing it, right? You start thinking differently and it gives you a new idea and you implement it and you see the results in your life. And that's where that motivation comes. And sometimes you just got to stick around long enough to be able to find that. It's not always easy. It's not always pleasant. But most things, they say if success was easy, everybody would have it, right? And most people don't. So you're going to have to be willing to do what other people won't do if you want to have what other people can't have. Put yourself in immersive environments, surrounded by like-minded people. Go attend a seminar, go join a mastermind group. It doesn't have to be, there's events that are $100, to go and attend, and, just get around other people that are chasing the same dream that you are. The biggest thing is you're just going to have to commit to the process. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey and who you become. You may not see the results of reading the book right away. You may not see the results of that workout. You may not get the benefits of that cold plunge, immediately, but you compound that one book a month and those 5 workouts a week for 10 years, and you're a completely different person. Commit to becoming the greatest version of you that there is. It may not be easy, but it will be worth it. I believe in you. Appreciate you guys tuning into this episode, and I'll see you on the next.